Hello, church. It's so good to be with you today. I hope that this finds you somewhere where you're staying cool because it is hot as the surface of the sun out there. All right, we're finally in chapter 4 of 1 Peter, and I pick it up there. It says, "Therefore, since Christ suffered in his body, arm yourselves." Isn't it interesting that the author, Peter, tells us that based on Christ's suffering in the body, we should arm ourselves also with the same attitude, because whoever suffers in the body is done with sin. As a result, they do not live the rest of their earthly lives for evil human desires, but rather for the will of God. For you spent enough time in the past doing what pagans choose to do, living in debauchery and drunkenness and orgies and carousing and detestable idolatry. What a list that is, right? You're feeling pretty good about your journey with Jesus right now because you don't even check any of those boxes, but they represent a lot of stuff. So here's what I would say. There's a new life that you have in Christ. And part of what this is saying is that once you have that new life in Christ, that you are literally done with sin, that you are to be Teflon to sin, right? So the truth of the matter is we all continue to sin, right? But the grace of Christ covers this. But we don't sin all the more, as Paul says, in order to experience more grace. We continue to fight the battle with Christ in us to be Teflon to sin. So this happens with the ridding of evil desires. So part of this new life that we see is that is the opposite of this list of bad things that Peter shares that people used to do when you were living your pagan self. You would participate in destructive, unhealthy things that you, if you notice, are all in bodily form, right? So your body is what is tempted, as I preached not long ago, to fall into these desires that start in your heart. So this is part of the reason he says, do not live the rest of your earthly lives for evil human desires. So there are human desires that are natural to the sinful flesh. And this is what Peter's getting at here. He says, listen, you can be Teflon to that. You can be rid of sin. So one of the things that I teach frequently at church is there are two approaches to your faith. There is orthodoxy, right beliefs, and there is orthopraxy, right practices, right? And the two go together. But sometimes in Christendom, we like to separate those things, right? So you can do good works, orthopraxy, and never connect it to Jesus. This is not being a Christian. Or you can have right beliefs, orthodoxy, and still yet not participate in the kingdom life through good deeds and actions. Those two things are mutually together for the betterment of the kingdom. You have got to have both orthodoxy, right beliefs, and orthopraxy, right actions, right practices. They are together. One of the things that I think about when I see this list in verse 3 is anytime I've been with somebody who's come to Christ for the first time, I know this is in my own life, that immediately something changes in you. You have new desires. The things that you loved before you now hate, and the things you hated before you probably love now. And so there is this change happening within your heart, within your soul. So one of the questions I ask people anytime that they've had a radical redemption by Jesus is, what are you going to do with this new life? What are you going to do? Because see, Jesus doesn't save you for you. Jesus saves you because God can't imagine you not being a part of his fellowship. And then he wants to use your salvation for the glory of someone else. So what are you going to do with your new life? I know that when I came to Christ, that there were things that immediately changed. My circle of friends changed. The language that I used changed. The way I went about treating other people changed. I had a new life. And this is part of what Peter is getting at. Listen, you don't live in those old ways anymore, but there is a human fleshly temptation to return to them. Just as we see in the Exodus, they have hardship, and what do they want to do? They want to go back to slavery. They want to go back to Egypt, right? This is how our fleshly sinful nature is. It wants to draw us back into that unhealthy, toxic place. But you are free of sin. You are free from any kind of behavior that does not reflect Jesus. right? So this is part of what he's trying to get at is there is a new life you have that you should know that requires you to arm yourself for the trials and challenges and temptations that come from that old life wanting to call you back. Don't succumb to it. Don't succumb. You're a new being. You are brand new in Christ. Live for Christ. So church, that's my goal for us as a church, is that we get up every day and that we live for Christ, because it is Christ in you that is capable to do more than you could ever imagine. Church, I hope this has been encouraging and helpful to you. Again, try to stay cool out there. It's brutally hot. So love you, church. Can't wait to be with you next week.